Yes, that's right. Sober mentality has faded away and fallen to the wayside, probably for the worse. I haven't spoke on YouTube in a couple weeks, and that's driven by my affinity for things that I used to hold dear to me, which are really propelling me in a direction other than one that is concise. A couple months ago, I could have said that my path, my future, was laid out before me, and I realized the extent that I would be having. That's not exactly true. I was going to say I realized the extent that I will have an impact in the future, and that could have been true to an extent, but none of us really understands what the future can entail and what we can give to others throughout this journey. Speaking on that, Alice, I believe I've given something to you in my previous incarnate on YouTube that you were able to take things which I said and internalize them. Because we're all experiencing, I'll get back to you, Alice, we're all experiencing the same reality. And so while we're here and we're experiencing the things that we do, we can relate to one another because out of the innumerable possibilities that we can go through, each human, while we're here, we're bound to live the same path, some of us. When I say some of us, it ultimately is all of us, because, you know, if somebody is living the exact same path, the struggles that I've been through and the life that I've led, somebody in, say, Minnesota is living the exact same life that I'm living here in Flint, Michigan, they can relate to me. Or if they've had some type of, if they've had their experiences that parallel mine in some way, then they can relate to what I'm saying. So the overall effect is that we can all relate to one another on some level. But then where does that lead to us? If we can all relate and we're all experiencing the same reality, and we're all tied because we're all experiencing different, although we're living the same reality, each one of us in our family, say, are experiencing a different conception of what this reality is. And families across the globe are experiencing a different reality than one another, but we can be tied to one another by each of us in different states, countries, you know, across borders, experiencing the same thing, so we can relate to one another. So this ties us as a whole to one another. That's a humanistic aspect. Now, if we carry that over, what does this mean in a larger sense? If we can all relate, and we can all feed into one another, and there are a certain number of paths and eventualities that we can all take to incorporate the world around us and facilitate an understanding of the world around us. What can that lead us to? I don't believe that. My belief system today is nullified. I believe things concretely throughout each incarnate that I've lived on this earth. And I say each incarnate because I believe that numerous ones have been manifest throughout this journey that we call life. You know, today my experiences are different than even a couple of weeks ago. It's not the same. It's not the same experience because of our outlooks, and while trying to dismantle the humanistic perception that encases the physical reality, ultimately we're going to fall victim. I say victim like we're a victim to these perceptions, but they're so incorporated into daily life. I don't want to say we're a victim to these perceptions, because they ultimately accumulate to foster our entire viewpoint of reality. So you can't say we fall victim to this, but rather this is what each perception lends to us, an air of truth. And I thought at one time it was possible to break down each perception systematically, one by one, to welcome a new day. And I say new day, I understand that there's now, that's it. to welcome a new landscape where you can see things for what they are. And again, the words do nothing. We have to live in a state of action, and we can't think our way into new actions. We have to act our way into new thinking. And I say thinking, but through experience you'll see that this thinking doesn't arise from contemplating situations. It arises from experiencing them and understanding the full magnitude of what we're trying to convey through words, if you will. So yeah, so many different outlets to go through in life, and I want mine to see, that's desire. I was going to begin that by saying I want my legacy to be this. I don't want my legacy to be anything. I don't want a concrete legacy where I plot and insinuate on what my legacy is going to be. There's so many obstacles and so many different experiences that are going to lend to each person's perception of what I became, what I was during my lifetime in the physical incarnate. And to try to anticipate what my legacy will be it's erroneous, really. I mean, it doesn't matter. Today I understand that there has to be action, that there has to be a movement forward, coalescing with others in an understanding that has an entirety about it, that doesn't leave anything out. But through my awareness, there seems to be pitfalls, and I understand that through recollection and foresight and awareness, that the thinking mind is a hindrance. And unless I combat the things that are facing me today, unless I totally not retreat, if we're participating in society, if we're participating in the perceptions whatsoever, we're ultimately not doing any justice to what we're trying to do. And you see the stages throughout antiquity, history, BC, AD, everything is culminating. And regardless if we're aware of it, this life is evolving, and everything's changing. The political spectrum, how we communicate, everything is becoming new, as it always has, I'm sure, but everything is amplified and intensified, and we're aware of it, so that again makes it amplified in a new sense, where we can truly couple that understanding with the evolution that is occurring to usher in a completely new arena of participation and experience, where we're no longer onlookers. I don't read the news anymore, because it's like an onlooker participating. We each have to live our life while we're here, and if we can experience our life, of course there has to be why do I say of course? There doesn't have to be a media outlet, does there? Of course we're trying to convey, we're trying to broadcast. Yes, there does have to be, because this is part of evolution. But to just read and form your perceptions like, the shit going on in Palestine, how could they do that? Or the American government. These are all earthly perceptions that will hold no weight. We have to become fit to understand why certain things are happening, and if we can look beyond the perception of man and not have any perceptions, just experience, but not fall victim to the subtle detriments that can take us over. We have to be aware, but the awareness has to propel us into action, to birth an understanding of the thoughts that we have, so we can look beyond the thoughts to the purely experiential aspect, to convey to others and walk with others hand in hand to this new day, in the moment, in the now, to reform everything we've ever envisioned, and understand that our wildest dreams, everything we've pictured, we've understood, is culminating. and it's going to become something so much greater than we ever perceived it to be.